What is up, Nets fans? Welcome to another live Brooklyn Buzz. I'm your host, Nick Fay. With me, as always, Jack Manuel. What's up, Jack?
This is my face again.
For those of you that didn't see yesterday, we did our first video for the NBA Outlet Live, talking a little NBA topics. But today, obviously, Brooklyn Buzz, all Nets, talking Nets versus Knicks. Also, Dinwiddie news. And quick reminder, you can check out the pod on iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, OTGBasketball.com, Google Play, Dash Radio, Nets Republic, and YouTube, obviously, because that's where we are right now. But Jack, let's dive into the Dinwiddie news first. Obviously, Caron Butler broke it. Probably his first big NBA break.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
He's with Fox Sports as well, so I mean, he's a media personality.
Yeah, give him props. It's also similar to, I don't know if we have any NFL fans, James Jones, a former Packer player, always breaks all the news, Aaron Rodgers contract and stuff like that. You guys don't probably care. But back to the story, Dinwiddie, torn ligament in his right thumb, possibility of missing 4 to 6 weeks if he gets surgery, or he could elect to play through it. The Nets are still evaluating. Dinwiddie and his family are still evaluating. Jack, initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was reading up, and there was plenty of other people sort of tweeting out similar people who had injuries. Marcus Smart apparently had a very similar one. He came back in 6 weeks. Clint Capella is currently sidelined with his, and then he said to come back. He had a 4 to 6 week time frame. Dinwiddie has been playing through this apparently for 2 months. Shout out to my boy Nick. I remember we were discussing that Celtics loss a few weeks ago while I was in New York. And he was mentioning, he looks hurt. We saw the cast on his hand as well. So, it's clearly been a persistent injury. And, Dinwiddie has found a way to play through it marvelously.
Yeah.
And I remember I tweeted out the exact video where he seemed to aggravate it. But at the same time, he made 2 massive plays down the stretch, an insane layup as we expect from him, and then this clutch contested 3. So we know he can play through the pain. It's whether he chooses to. He's secured the bag. He's got his money, and he deserves it. But at the same time, I would rather have 100% fully fit Dinwiddie at the end of the season than an 80 to 90% fit, a guy that we might get 10 points from, rather than, the guy who was putting up 20 points, double digits off the bench for 25 straight games.
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation. Like you mentioned, some other players have it. I believe LaMarcus Aldridge had it recently, and he finished the season playing through it, got surgery in the offseason. Obviously, a little different being a point guard, having to dribble the ball so much. So that's something to think about. I think there's a couple ways to look at it. Like you said, Jack, do you risk, Dinwiddie injuring it worse and possibly hurting him in the future? Or do you kind of let him play through it? I think since he secured the bag, like you mentioned, there's a chance he might just elect to play through it. Or one thing that I think the Nets should consider, and this kind of seems a little bit unorthodox, but the Nets kind of do their own thing anyways, is maybe they kind of reevaluated the weekend before All-Star weekend, and they look at it then, and then maybe they're like, all right, we can get him surgeries 4 to 6 weeks. Maybe we'll Karis LeVert back at the end of the month or early March, and then they're kind of taking advantage of the extra break they have, and also the possibility of LeVert coming back and kind of easing the load for D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, we know the news getting leaked out was very un-Nets-like, so obviously it probably would have come straight from the source, Spencer Dinwiddie. We spoke about that on the outlet. Maybe he was just, texted his bud. But when the Brooklyn Nets themselves tweeted out, the direct source themselves, they were sort of saying, Dinwiddie is going to be, looking into options. And then we got the official tweet this morning, just a couple of hours ago. So if I'm Dinwiddie, I don't really know which way I go with this. He said I think Brian Lewis, like you mentioned, Nick, tweeted out he's going to be speaking to his family, speaking to the team and everything. But at the end of the day, he needs to do what's right for him and what's right for the team. And, we've got a ready-made replacement in Shabazz Napier's ready to step up. Thea Pinson's getting up shots. Mitch Creek's on to 10-dayer. So we've got some guys. And I think, there might be a move at the deadline as well, whether it's for a guard or, just another body. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, they were able to make a move, not necessarily even for a guard or a point guard, just somebody who could create their own shot or give you some instant offense, because I think we kind of underestimate how much he brings to the offense and creates for others and just gets things going. And I think that'll really hurt. Obviously, Shabazz has the potential. Kenny really loves him. He's been working a lot with him individually over the last week or so since the news broke. So it's something to kind of consider. Maybe the Nets are just like, all right, Dinwiddie, we're going to let you rest the next few games, kind of see how it goes with the team. And if things are kind of going sour, maybe they're like, all right, we kind of want you to play through it. And I think Dinwiddie, from the, what we know about him and the chip on his shoulder, I think he'd be willing to play the rest of the season with it.
Oh, well, Dinwiddie is one of the toughest guys going around. All these guys are. I think he's proven that, to be able to play this through 2 months. And that's not my word, that's Coach Kenny's words. He said that today to the media. So to play through such a a nagging injury like your thumb. Like you're playing basketball. Your thumb is like probably the crux of everything. You know, the support in terms of shooting and dribbling and everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes either way, but I wouldn't begrudge him if he takes some time off, and at the same time, wouldn't begrudge him if he keeps playing. I think Nets fans need to have an even-keeled perspective on whichever decision he decides to make.
Yeah, and I think the only worst case scenario here is if he were to, not get surgery, injure it later in the season, and then miss the playoffs. Obviously they still need him to probably make the playoffs or at least keep them in the hunt. They do have a decent cushion. I want to say 4 games off the top of my head. So that's something to consider. But I think the only bad thing that could happen here is if Dinwiddie were to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the most important thing for Dinwiddie is his livelihood and the team's livelihood. So I think that all those things are going to be weighed up, and I don't think that there is a wrong decision either way. So if he were to decide to keep playing through it and then he were to change tack, I think that there needs to be probably, like you sort of mentioned, some sort of direction. If you're going to play through it, then play through it. You can't say want to get surgery around March and then towards that end stretch of the season where we have a really tough stretch against a heap of playoff teams. Then we're in severe need of bodies or whatever it might be. There needs to be direction from both sides in that sort of sense.
How much do you think LeVert coming back will impact, the Nets' decision, Dinwiddie's decision on this, or it doesn't really matter because kind of LeVert's a wild card at this point, coming back from such a major injury?
Yeah, I don't think you take into account another person's injury history and another person's circumstances when you're talking about, one person. I think, with what's happening with LeBron in LA right now, they're not rushing him back because Lonzo Ball's out for a couple of weeks and Kyle Kuzma's got a sore hip. I think you need to take each case, each player at its worth, and I think that's what they're going to do with Spencer. We back our medical team more than any other, and in terms of the comfort that they give the players, not putting timelines and everything on it. Obviously, there's been a timeline that's been put out there, and we sort of, we can make a comparison to other players in terms of, like I alluded to with Marcus Smart. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. But in the coming days, if he plays tonight as well, it's going to be fascinating to see.
Yeah, I think the Nets ruled him out already for tonight, and because they're still evaluating, so I'm sure they probably want to get the final word. Obviously, New York has some of the best doctors. Like Jack said, Nets performance team A1. Jack, any final thoughts on Dinwiddie before we kind of move to the Knicks and Nets preview?
Just sad because I hope this doesn't. Well, obviously, it is going to affect his Sixth Man of the Year candidacy. Not just for his sake, but for my sake. Because put an article out in September. For those that don't know, I've been tooting my own horn since then on the buzz. So. It hurts my credibility as a Nets beat writer, but we'll go with it.
In my heart, Jack, I think you were still right. And I think it's incredible just to think about, like you mentioned, the 2 months he's played with this. He's played it at a really high level. He's had a couple bad games here and there, but like the recent performance against Orlando, obviously the one against Houston, like he was injured at that point. Just imagine what he could do 100% healthy, especially with the chemistry him and D'Angelo are getting right now. And I think that's what really hurts too, is their chemistry. We talked about this a little bit on the NBA outlet yesterday. Not only on the court, but off the court. You just feel like they're really vibing right now.
Yeah, we've got some people as well asking, Nick, about Musa and Pinson in terms of their ability. Obviously, Musa himself is recovering from an injury. He's been recalled from the G League a few times and such, but they're asking about in terms of their driving ability, because we know how insane of a driver Spencer Dinwiddie is. So, I mean, if we're going to compare it to Spencer Dinwiddie, they're certainly subpar, but we've seen Pinson in spurts, and I like what he brings. He seems confident and stuff, but against a Knicks outfit, this could be a perfect time for him to sort of make a statement. I think Musa will have to wait down the line. We've seen him in some garbage time here and there, him put up some great numbers in the G League for Long Island. So I think the jury's still out on him, and fairly so, because he's still a kid. But with Pinson, I think that there's some room to grow.
Yeah, I think Pinson's probably a little bit more NBA ready in the sense that he's a two-way player. He can defend. Musa, I look at his size, and that's my real concern with him, is that he'll kind of get bodied up. Even against point guards, it's still hard going against some of these quicker guys in the league, and they're just going to take advantage of a rookie like himself. And like you said, he hasn't necessarily got the reps over the last month dealing with an injury himself. I think Theo Pinson, this is a really good opportunity for him. I don't know if he's going to see big minutes. Obviously, Shabazz is going to see the biggest boost here, but Theo's going to have a real opportunity to prove he's an NBA player this next month, if then when he even misses time, which there's a chance he might not be missed time. Yeah,
and I think, you referenced Baz. I think Baz's driving ability, in terms of he's sort of an Isaiah Thomas type in the fact that he's one of those guys. I remember that he had this drive the last game against the Magic. I can't remember who the defender was, but he was one-on-one and he had him right on his hip, backs into him and just goes forward and just uses his body contortion. I think smaller guys like Shabazz, who's I think 6'1", just know how to use their body and contort in a way that's, I think he's a better driver than D'Angelo Russell. And I think that's not saying much. But I think Shabazz isn't going to necessarily fill the void of Spencer Dinwiddie, but he's certainly going to be able to fill in ably.
Yeah, he's going to provide something a little different. Like you said, he has a great ability of getting inside. I think the problem for him is just kind of finishing at the rim sometimes, being that small, not only in terms of height, but also just weight. He's not necessarily a big guy, but he provides a different element where he just is almost like, I don't want to say Dinwiddie's not a hustle player, but Shabazz just has this like little hustle energy like we saw at the end of that Orlando game, forcing 2 turnovers, getting fouls called. I think there's something there. And Shabazz has had really good moments, not only with the Nets, but with Portland last year. So there's a great opportunity for him too. He's not on a big contract, is kind of proving himself a little bit more. And this is another excellent signing by Sean Marks. And we kind of talked about it. A lot of people were like, oh, why are they signing another guard? This is exactly why, because you're almost guaranteed to deal with injuries.
Yeah, it can't hurt to have depth. And if there would be 28, 29 other teams in the league that would be envious of having a third guard, the caliber of Shabazz Napier, waiting in the wings for when injuries happen. Plenty of guys, plenty of teams don't even have a starting caliber guard. Look in every other team. San Antonio went through the DeJounte Murray injury. Derek White, obviously, he's back now. There's plenty of other teams that will be clamoring to have a guy like Shabazz Napier's caliber, and I'm excited to see him put up some numbers. I'm excited to see him relish the opportunity, and I think his energy and in terms of the hustle sort of things is what earns him minutes. And I think now he's going to have to do those things combined with just playing winning basketball. Driving, making the right plays, kicking it out, limiting the turnovers. And he's proven that in Portland, like you mentioned, Nick, and he has proven it this season with us at Spurs.
Yeah, and I think one other thing to kind of keep an eye on is just their plus minus, I don't know off the top of my head, but the chemistry between Shabazz and D'Lo, because sometimes when D'Lo's really lighting it up, it's nice to have another ball handler out there that kind of ease the load for himself. But Jack, I guess we should probably talk about the game tonight because it's probably going to start in about 10 minutes or so. So obviously Knicks and Nets, teams in opposite directions. Knicks in the last 15 games, 1-14. Nets in the last 23 games, 18-5. So going into this one, obviously it's a battle of the boroughs, so there's a little extra juice, as I have my juice here today, Jack. But what are your thoughts on this matchup?
I think this needs to be a statement game for the Knicks. Nick. Wow, geez, say that a million times. It's going to be. It's always just that danger game. The Knicks fans make their way down from MSG, from Manhattan, get the cheap tickets, fill up all the seats, and just start screaming obscenities at the Nets fans and everything. You've experienced that obviously this season already. It's always a danger game because the Knicks get up. It's just we're the little brother to the big bro. It's us to the NBA media, OTG to ESPN. We want to put out that quality content so we can rival them. But I think I put out a piece for Nets Republic in terms of the pregame. We just got to get off to a good start. You mentioned that yourself as well. We've had some decent starts against Sacramento and Orlando. Nice little margins. But I think if we can get a 10-point, a double-digit buffer to start the game with, get them in some foul trouble. I think if Enes Kant's not playing, Emmanuel Mudier's shoulder injury helps us as well. But they've got plenty of guys there to just do things, and I think that David Fizdale's a good coach, and despite the fact that they're losing consistently, I still like this Knicks squad, and it probably is sacrilege coming from a Nets fan.
Yeah, Jack, get off here. I'm about to kick you off. Who wants to sign on that's listening right now? No, I think going to this game, like you said, Jack, the first quarter is very important, especially against a young team. We were at the Atlanta-Brooklyn game, and obviously Atlanta got off to a hot start. We don't want them to have to try to make a comeback like that. You don't want to let a young team get confident. They're not a great offensively talented team. They're prone to turnovers, being so young. So just come out. Maybe Kenny throws a couple different looks. It's a good way to get the bench scoring going, especially with Dinwiddie out, get some turnovers, some easy fast break points. It's a good game for Rodion to kind of attack a little bit. He's a guy that we didn't really mention with the Dinwiddie injury, but I could see him stepping up with his driving ability. So just get on top of him early and just take care of business and play good defense. And the Knicks are going to lose this game.
Yeah, Rodion's first statement game was in the preseason against the Knicks. So
Mhm.
I think that we've seen that he wants to step up against the big teams. He relishes those moments. So I think he could be in for a big night. He's had his moments here and there as we expect from him, but it's been a little while since we've seen a really consistent game from him. But at the same time, he is a rookie and he's probably a lottery talent with the way that he has been playing. Some of our guys in the comments are saying D'Lo's in for another big one, 30 plus. I expect with Dinwiddie out, it's not going to affect D'Angelo in any sort of stretch of the imagination. It's going to be the other guys that are going to need to step up. But we're going to need to make a statement. D'Lo hitting buckets, dishing out dimes. Joe Harris hitting threes when he finally gets invited to the freaking 3-point contest. NBA, don't at me at the J-Man JBT.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting matchup for D'Angelo going to this game. The Knicks are going to know that. They're not really like game planning hard because they're still trying to tank. But Frank Ntilikina obviously can provide some really good defense, a good test for D'Angelo. If he has Trey Burke matched up on him, he should just cook him. Not only on the drives, I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of D'Lo post-ups as well. Just get his scoring going. And like you said, though, Jack, it's going to be on the other guys, just consistently scoring, doing their thing, and getting the easy baskets.
Yeah, you got to bully them. You just got to, we are now the big bro. We are the better team. We're the playoff team. These guys are wuthering away in the doldrums. Let's make a statement against these guys. Russell said earlier in the earlier matchup where we got that tight win, we expect to win these games. We're the better team. Right now, we should have even higher expectations on ourselves, but that's not going to it's not going to just happen. In any NBA, there's plenty of teams that could just catch you off guard. You can't just play lazy, play disengaged defense and offense. It's going to require doing the right things, like you mentioned, Nick. So I think that if we do the right things and we start off hard early and just bring the energy, then it'll take care of itself.
Yeah, especially a team full of young players, a lot of chip on their shoulders. So it's going to be important to just kind of come out and do your thing. And Jack, what would be your keys to? And actually, we kind of just touched on the keys. Who's going to have a big game tonight, and the Nets are going to win?
I'm going Jared Allen. I think if Enes Kanter is not to play because Kanter is the Nets killer, it seems. If I were David Fizdale, I'd probably chuck him out there just purely because of the fact, apart from the plus minus, I think you can get Jared Allen in some foul trouble, even just for spurts. But I think Jared Allen, he's been rebounding like a monster, but I want to see some ferocity from him. I want to see one of those block highlights, a dunk highlight from him. So I'm putting it on my boy Jared Allen.
Yeah, I believe Enes Kanter's not playing, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I see a couple tweets out there about him not playing. But like you said, if he's not playing, Jared Allen could have a huge game. Mitchell Robinson, though, is a very athletic player who showed some really good spurts. So it's going to be a nice little battle for him. Spencer Dinwiddie actually cooked him last time they were at MSG. And just talking about the season series real quick, the Nets are up 2-1. They have a chance to win it 3-1 tonight, obviously. But for me, I think I'm going to go with Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with a low-key guy. I'm going to go with Shabazz. I'd like to see him have a good game, build up that confidence moving forward. If Dinwiddie does miss time, it'll be a nice boost for him and the team to know they can count on him.
Yeah, Blue Skies is going for Joe Harris, so he clearly listens to the buzz and is indeed himself to me forever long.
That's a #1 fan right there for you, Jack. Any other topics or questions before I get your prediction?
Just a quick little one, Nick. Just I know you're probably a more historic fan than myself. Nihad's asked us a question again, just in relation to off-topic in terms of Mirza Teletovic, obviously being a Bosnia and a legacy, in terms of a legacy sort of question in terms of what you liked about him and what he left in Brooklyn. Just a quick little tidbit just to appease our fans, because these are the guys and we love that they're interacting with us.
I love Mirza's confidence. I love his toughness. He obviously, he's known for going at LeBron James and like kind of laughing at him when he went back at him. He also had that huge game in the playoffs against Miami. The Nets might have been swept in that series if they didn't have Mirza. He just had the ability to just get like crazy from three, something we kind of see from Allen Crabbe, when he's actually healthy and playing, where he's just hot from three. He's hitting everything off bounds, on bounds, whatever it is. Sucks what happened to Mirza with the blood clots and he wasn't able to kind of finish his NBA career strong. I really always enjoyed his play, and I felt like Jason Kidd, actually, that was probably one of the better things he did, and the coach was kind of unlock Mirza.
Yeah, I'm all about that. He was probably a player that I sort of grew to as well, just because I love the toughness and I love the three-point shooting. He was sort of, Bogdanovic, before Bogdanovic was a thing. Those sort of, you just love the energy that he brought. He had great heart, and it sucks the way that it all ended for him. But we appreciate all the interaction in the chat, guys, and you guys are why we keep doing this thing. It's a heap of fun.
Yeah, Jack got me on here. No, it's actually because of you guys, because you're asking all these great questions, and we really appreciate it. But with Jack, before we get out of here, prediction for tonight. You might have to break your prediction rule because it is the Knicks. So I don't know if I can, befriend you, or you're not my favorite Australian if you don't pick the Nets tonight.
Yeah, we've got a couple of Aussies on the staff, so I better go with the right one this one. I'll go with the Nets by a low margin. I'll go by 5.
I'm going to go with the Nets by – technically, guys, just so you know, I'm undefeated on here. I haven't been wrong yet because every time we do these pre-games, the Nets win. Obviously, they've been winning a ton, so I'm going to go with the Nets by 12 tonight. I think they handle the game. I don't know if it's a blowout, but they'll be in charge the entire game and just kind of take care of business and finish it tough. We'll have some nice moments from a lot of different guys tonight. Yeah,
and shout out to Miguel, who's giving you some love on the X-Men shirt, Nick.
Oh, yes. This is fire. So since we're doing these video things, I'm making sure that all my T-shirts are on point. And I have like a ton of T-shirts that I don't get to wear. So I'll be sure to keep the collection going. But Jack, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Love doing these, Nick. If you guys want to keep doing them, keep commenting, keep interacting, and we'll endeavor to do as many as we can.
100%. We'll probably be going live after the game again, so be sure to check it out. Look for that YouTube link. Send us questions, concerns. If you hate us, let us know. But as always, check us out: iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, OTGBasketball.com, NetsRepublic.com, and YouTube.